Good evening, everybody. Everybody want to mingle to their seats? The bar will stay open. The food will be replenished, so feel free to get up throughout the evening. Welcome. I am Courtney Kidwell, a wealth management advisor at Stearns Financial. And I just want to say welcome back. This is the first in-person event we've really done in Greensboro. So I don't know if you guys just love us that much or you just wanted to get out of the house tonight. But whatever it is, thank you so much for coming. A lot of people may say, why is the first event back for Stearns Financial Group about organizing? Anyone? Anyone have that thought? Anybody have any ideas why that is the event that we're doing tonight? Oh, come on. We've got free cookbooks for anybody that wants to talk. We want this to be engaging. We all need it, exactly. Dennis and I recently did an event at the Colonial Inn in Hillsboro, and we had a great group, and one of the people there is here tonight, and so she can vouch for everything I'm saying. But we went through and asked everybody what their goal was. We were there that morning to discuss the workbook, the fourth quarter champions workbook that Dennis has just published, that's a companion to his fourth quarter fumbles book, that if you have not read it, please do. We've got some out there. But the workbook is supposed to kind of help stimulate ideas for how to be a champion, not just muddle through your fourth quarter, how to avoid the fumbles and some of the proactive things you can do to be successful in the fourth quarter. So when we asked everybody what they wanted to get out of the night, I think we were thinking more along the lines of, you know, how do I pay for my grandkids' tuition? You know, is that a smart thing to do? Or how much should I travel? Instead, we got declutter, and then somebody else said declutter, and we got probably 4 declutters. And I thought, okay, it's a mental thing. I know for me, when my house is dirty, it kind of weighs on me because I think, oh, I need to do that, I need to do the laundry, and so I'm not quite as efficient with what work I'm doing. So I kind of thought it was take a mental break, you know, learn to meditate, do the 4 square breathing, you know, just take a moment to be able to be thoughtful, declutter your brain, and move forward with decisions. Because we talk about decisions in the fourth quarter fumbles and how you need to make smart decisions. I was completely wrong. They wanted to know how to get the stuff out of their attic, okay? One of the individuals made the comment that you need to move in order to declutter, because he said you have no choice but to get up there and empty everything out. So while moving may be something you're going to do in the fourth quarter or moving towards it, we don't want to assume that you want to get out of your space. So I started thinking, okay, well, what do you do to deorganize? That's me right there. Organize. And I found Jess, Organize with Jess. And her website looked fantastic. It looked like somebody that could come into my home and help me. I have twin 10-year-old boys. That right there needs help. But every day they come in, book bags get slung, Legos get slung. For some reason, the couch cushions and sofa pillows get in their way when they're sitting there and watching television in the afternoon. So I know for me, I get stressed out with that happening, and I know, okay, at night I can clean that up and we'll move on tomorrow. But as you get into the fourth quarter and you start having more space between when somebody comes in and ruins your sofa, whether it's grandkids coming in or book club, maybe you're not hosting as often, you know, maybe COVID got it and it hasn't restarted again. When you don't have something to keep you going and you start looking for things to do, decluttering can kind of help. Whether it'll help you mentally, but it'll also help you physically in your space. So as you move into the fourth quarter and start thinking about, where am I going to live? What am I going to do? Who do I give the baby grand to? Jess is going to answer those questions, right? Okay. We have put index cards on everyone's table. If anybody has a question you want to answer, we have a few questions that we're going to pose to Jess. But we want this to be interactive. We want to hear your thoughts. If you think of something, please just raise your hand. We can come grab the card. Jess, if you want to come up here, I'm going to read for this part of it because I don't want to mess anything up. You can describe Jess as creative, energetic, reliable, and non-judgmental. She had these personality traits and took those along with her passion for form, function, and organizing to launch Organize with Jess in 2011 to elicit action and empower assertiveness in others. How awesome is that? I want to be assertive and actionable. With her talented team, Jess is the driving force behind a group who looks to implement organizational strategies to create functional, cohesive atmospheres and offer simple and lasting storage solutions that are easy to maintain. Music to my ears, personally. We have a few questions that we've already gotten accumulated, like I said, but please, anything else you have, we're all ears. I'm going to turn it over to Jess for now to chat, and then we'll answer your questions in a minute. Thank you, guys.
There we go. See, we need energy to start high because I'm a lot. I'm a big personality in a pint-sized package, right? So that's why I needed you guys to start ramping me up. So I am Jess. I am the owner and one of our lead organizers for Organize with Jess. So top questions that we get asked are, how did you get into this? How is this your job? What even do you do is another favorite that I get to answer. What do you do? I don't understand. So I was in grad school. I got my bachelor's in psychology and I was going to grad school. And I was nannying during grad school. And one day, the little girl that I was nannying came running in from outside. She ran past Mom and she jumped up on me. And she was like, Jess, I did it, I did it, I did it. And I was like, what did you do? She went outside. She was able to ride her little two-wheeler bike for the first time by herself. Super excited, happy for Lily. Came back in, and Mom was bawling. Does anybody know kind of why Mom was bawling, right? Feel that? Because she picked the nanny to hug. So after we put the kids to bed that night, I said, how about tomorrow we switch? Give me your list of all the things that Mom has to do. Take the 2T clothes and switch it to 3T. Take all of the Halloween decorations and change it to the harvest decorations. Take the pictures that she's brought home from school and find a place to put those. All of that stuff. And she was like, I don't know. And I'm like, I think that you need a day with the kids. Give me all of that stuff and I'll do it. She's like, I don't know if it's going to work. If it doesn't work, we switch back. Cool. So the next day I get there, we switched. She had a little list for me of things I had to do, and I'm a fully functioning, awesome human, so I'm able to do almost everything you give me to do, which was really cool. We switched. On the way home, I called my sister-in-law, and I was explaining to my sister-in-law what happened. She was like, I would pay someone to do that. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? An amazing career was born. So that was back in 2010, 2011. I lived in Seattle at the time. I was able to rebrand and move the company here in 2014. And then we've expanded our team so that we have a team of 3 organizers that work all of the time, 3 organizers that work some of the time, and then even back of house people. We work with thousands of different clients doing what we do, and we absolutely love what we do. I want to make sure that we get to questions and comments from you guys, but I think it's important too to share my mentality as an organizer. So everybody's heard of Marie Kondo. Everybody knows Marie Kondo, right? If you hold it and it doesn't cause joy, let it go. Most of my things don't cause joy, right? I have to have a spatula at my house. I don't hold my spatula and I'm like, yes, best thing ever, right? But I need that. Then there's the home edit, where everything is from start to finish in a rainbow. It's in an awesome, clear container with a perfect little label. It's beautiful. It's not what my house looks like, and I'm a professional organizer, right? The closet that's on the front of Real Simple magazine, that's got 3 khaki pairs of pants and 1 white pair of pants. And clients will bring it to me and they're like, Jess, I want my closet to look like this. And I'm like, dope, just throw out all your stuff. We can get it to look like that. So our mentality is real solutions for the people that live there. Actual answers to twin 10-year-old boys. Like, she needs Lysol in every room. Like, she just needs to have Lysol like everywhere she goes, right? We want to make it so that it works for your household. So that's why I want to make sure that we're answering the questions that you guys have today. I'm talking about things that matter for the fourth quarter and where you are in your kind of timeline. And we get what you guys need from me instead of me giving you what I think you need.
Okay, question number 1. I am planning to downsize from a 5,000 square foot home into a 3-bedroom townhome, but I still want it to feel like home when my kids and grandkids come to visit. How do I know what to keep, what to get rid of, and is there anything I can do in the townhome to give it a special touch?
Yeah, for sure, because I still want it to be home, right? Like when everyone pictures really quick, like picture your grandma's house. There's like certain things about grandma's house that you're like, oh my goodness, I love that. Like she had this little thing that I wasn't allowed to touch, but I looked at it and she always had this bowl with a spoon of candy. Nobody used the spoon. Everyone just like grabbed it out, but like for whatever reason, she needed to have the spoon there, right? So you want your space to be something that is going to be memorable to your family as well. When we talk about downsizing, it's difficult and challenging for me to think, okay, I'm going to have you go into your spare bedroom, and you're going to pick half your stuff and you're going to get rid of it. I already hate this lady. I don't want her at my house. I don't think it's fun. I'm not about it. But if instead I was like, tell me how you spend your weekend. And you were like, well, I go horseback riding, or I play golf, or I paint, or whatever I do, right? So then we start by getting those things. So I have you start telling me, how do you spend your time? When you have a day off or you have an hour to yourself, what are you doing? Let's make it so that the new home is going to facilitate that. Then when we come to like hosting, right? Because I want it to work for me, but I also want it to work for like hosting. Thanksgiving is at my house. Oh, what a nightmare if Thanksgiving was at my house. We'd be having pizza. Everyone would be in flip-flop. It would not be good. I'm good at other things. Hosting a huge family meal, not Jess, right? But I would ask you, okay, when people come over, who comes? And you're going to be like, well, my daughter, and then she's got 3 little kids, and they're going to bring the dog, whether I want them to bring the dog or not. And then she's going to come, but she has the kids, and then they don't really like the dog, so I need to make sure there's different areas for that. You're going to start talking to me and telling me all of these random personal facts. And I'm going to say, okay, so it sounds like we need a really good spot for like adults to hang out and watch a football game and be able to like stand around and chat. A place where the children can be playing and it's okay if they're being children. Imagine like if we let children be children, like how cool that would be. And then we might need a spot where the dog can be that doesn't feel like the dog is separate, but it makes it so that if I don't want to be near the dog, I have that choice. Then we collect the things that are going to facilitate that. So we always kind of work backwards. It's not the stuff. It's the life you want to live. It's the things you're doing. It's the people that you're spending time with. And then we work backwards from that.
All right. I have years worth of artwork, crafts, certificates, commendations from my kids and grandkids. Y'all know the pile? Everybody got that pile of stuff? Came off the refrigerator, went into a box somewhere. I don't want to just throw it away, but it is also not just, I don't want it just sitting in boxes in my attic. Is there anything I can do to display and appreciate these items?
Such a good one, because every single human being has this problem. Every single person that has a kid in their vicinity has way too many items. So I'm going to talk of a couple of different solutions for this. So we might break this into different answers. First thing I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you first picture the child, right? So we're going to step over here. Here's little Jess, right? Little Jess was awesome at drawing and very expressive, right? She drew a lot. I drew on everything. Every time you gave me a piece of paper, I was drawing something, right? A lot of times I drew the same thing. So some kids will draw the same thing. It's like the same robot over and over and over and over and over and over. And he kind of changes. I'll use the example that little kids will draw a perfect circle and the arms and the legs come out of the head. Then there's like a transition where all of a sudden he's got a body. So now it's like a head, a clear body, and then arms and legs coming out of the body. Very cool. All the kids do the same thing. So first, I want you to picture the child. And I want you to think about that child. Oh my goodness, she used to write the most amazing stories. She was so funny. She was really good at drawing. Or actually, he was really kind of terrible. Like, I love him, he's my son, but like, he's just not good at it at all. He was better at other things. Get the child in your head. Then we're gonna go through everything. So we're gonna go through the stuff that I use the example of, picture your friend was showing you the stuff. So you're gonna come to my house, I'm gonna show you everything my baby ever made. Come here, it's so good. And we start flipping through. You're exhausted and bored 5 minutes in. I am still like jazzed and stoked because it's my son, right? So you're gonna go through the things and you're like, what was actually truly amazing? What was truly amazing? The transition from no body to a body. We're keeping that. That's a big deal when we finally got a body on there. The ones that stand out for that child. So we're gonna pare it down. Then, once we've pared it down, we're gonna remove anything that was assembly line created. So I taught preschool for a long time. Very fun. You got to have like a really laid back, fun life. But we would assembly line apple prints and then slap names on it and send it home. So if you have a child or a grandchild or you know a child that's in preschool that's ever made a footprint reindeer, apple prints, the little caterpillar where it's their thumbs, right? We would assembly line these children and do this. The kids were learning. They were having a great time. We loved our job. But we needed to send home stuff so that when you picked up your daughter, you were like, oh, clearly she's been doing things all day, right? Those are the items that I think of as not super special. So the reindeer footprint, different. Love it. Anytime there's a little tiny footprint with like his hands or the ears, I'm on board. But if it's something that if the name was changed to a different kid and you wouldn't know the difference, it can go. It was not unique to that child. Okay, so we've pared it down, we've gone through, we still have a fair amount of stuff. There's two different things that I like to do. One is a company named Archive. Archive.com. Anything too today that I talk about that you're like, ooh, she said a thing, you guys can reach out to me later and ask me, but it's Archive. Archive sends you a box. You fill the box. You send the box back. They send you a book. So it's one bound book that's got pictures of all of the pictures that they created. Oh my goodness, so I still get to have every single representation that we had. He was the best speaker. She talks too much. I got that every single time that I talk too much. Too bad. I'm great at what I do because I talk too much. They will send it back to you, so it's like a bound book. But when we're creating that bound book, I use the example of Picasso all the time. So if we had a Picasso book sitting on the coffee table, it's not everything he ever did. It's the best things. It's things that show a difference in the scale or the ability that he had at the time. It is stuff that is noteworthy and he wants his name on. It's not apple prints. Another thing we'll do is I'll send it off. So Archive is a company that's what they do. I'll also do it where we take pictures of it. So like we put all the items down. That works especially if it was like a diorama. It's a shoebox that the child has turned into the ocean. It's amazing. Mostly mom did it. The kid didn't even do it. Mostly mom did it the night before. It's okay, we're keeping it, we want to have it, right? You can take a picture of that kind of item because now it's got to go. It's like mostly macaroni, like there's an actual goldfish in there, like it's got to get out of here. We'll take a photo of it and then we'll create photo books that do the same thing. All of this is after a conversation with the client where I'm like, what are we trying to keep? Are we trying to keep the memory or are we trying to keep the item? If the item is something that you love, it is the first time they drew the family picture and mom is bigger than dad. Whew, huge deal. Look at how little he is. This is awesome, right? I want this framed, hung in my house somewhere. Then we frame it and we hang it up. Another off-the-cuff suggestion is I'll have for parents who currently have children that are creating. They are nonstop making something. I give the child a printed out set of labels with like grandma's address, aunt's address, somebody else's address. Oh, absolutely. Do you know how happy grandma is to get the picture from the child? I wasn't even involved. It was like his own little factory. He put it in, he put the label on, he sent it in, he walked out to the mailbox. Grandma got a letter from the kid. Amazing. And now it's her problem. I don't have to deal with it.
Okay, I have to ask, how do you feel about the blankets that people make from t-shirts?
They're surprisingly expensive is my first thought. So this is one of those things where like I need to switch careers and be in the t-shirt quilt making business because they're very expensive. I'm on board with it if they are awesome. So I always use the example of I've been with my husband since we were in like high school. Been together for a long time. We still have the football jersey that I like fell in love with him in, right? That stays at my house. We're not even supposed to have that. You're not supposed to take that. You're supposed to give that back at the end of the year. We took it. We have it. We have the away jersey and the home jersey. I kept it. So if it's something that is that special, then yes, make it into a t-shirt, into a quilt. If it's every single t-shirt that GDS, nothing against GDS, but they like pumping out t-shirts, right? Has given to the child for the walkathon and the Apple Festival and the pumpkin, I can just pass that on. It's just a t-shirt. If it was the shirt that you got from running your first marathon, different. Different. My ridiculously bold, loud, tie-dye t-shirt from Woodstock in '99. That's not going anywhere. I don't wear that, but that's not going anywhere, right? If it's super special, we keep it. If it's just a shirt, let it go.
All right, moving on. I am a widow and I have decided it's time to move to a CCRC, Continuing Care Retirement Community. Talk about downsizing. I am just going to have one bedroom. So it is time for my family to get the furniture and belongings of mine that they want to keep. I have 3 kids, 2 in Greensboro and 1 in Maryland. How do I fairly divide up sentimental items like the baby grand and the dining room set? And what if no one wants something or more than one wants something? Boom.
This is a really good question, and this almost feels like it was like staged to me. It was like, can you tell us all the things you do in one question? So, Courtney, well done. So this is awesome because there's a lot happening in there. So first we're going to talk about downsizing to move to another facility. There's so much emotional, heavy content caught up in that process, right? Because I don't just move into a retirement community without there being some sort of necessity along with that. So it's heavy. It's one of those things that kind of has like an ick factor. Like I have a little bit of backpack on when I'm talking about that, right? There's other things going on that we might not talk about right away. When we think about downsizing, my recommendation for people is to choose the life I'm going to step into, okay? So I'm gonna go back here. Right now, I am X years old. I work out on a daily basis. I ride a bicycle. I'm going to be someone who continues to ride a bicycle. But I'm no longer going to rollerblade, right? Those can go. I'm going to play golf, but I'm no longer going to play tennis. I still want the piano. I am still going to play the piano, right? So I want you to think about the person that you're going to be. And I bring everything that Jess is going to need. This Jess is fine. She's got plenty of stuff. There's like years of things that come with you. There'll still be some things that you have to take with you no matter what. But you want to be facilitating the life that you're stepping into. Am I going to be someone that cooks every day? Probably not. I think that's the best part about one of those places. I joke that they need them for like 40-year-olds. Someone else cooks for me. Someone else cleans for me. There's a guy mowing the lawn. There's activities and events. Like, I want to live there. It sounds awesome. She's laughing. I'm 100% serious. If we started, I'm the first one moving in. But you want it to be for the things that you're going to be doing. All of the things that you're not going to be doing, we need to find a way to pass that stuff on. So then there's the second piece of that question, passing that stuff on. So, she said that they have 3 children. I'm one of 5. I joke that I'm the pointer finger of 5 children. That's a lot of kids. If you have more than 5, I'm sorry, but that's a lot of kids, 5, right? I lived it all the time. There was a lot of us. And I know from living that there are very different personalities in those 5 humans. There are some of us who absolutely are going to fight you for grandma's rolling pin. I'm going to fight you for it. I want it. It's coming to my house. There's no way you're getting it. But then there's things where I don't want it. I don't want it. It doesn't fit my mentality. It doesn't fit my life. So I would ask you to speak to them, is where we start. I've had a client before where they did sticky notes, and it was hilarious because people will take off the sticky note. So like I was blue, let's say, you're green. So we get to walk around the house and be like, blue sticky note, green sticky note on the things we want. She would come behind me and like take off my sticky note and put her sticky note, which is a little bit of bull, right? But it illuminated the things that people wanted. So it was like an actual activity that doesn't take a long time that illuminates who wants what. Now the grand piano has stickers all over it. We all want it, right? Now we need to talk about it. Do I actually play the piano? I just want it. I just don't want her to have it, mainly. I just don't want that sister to get it. I want to have it. She gets everything, right? Or you live central. So she lives closer where when the family gathers for the holidays, that's where we're going to gather. So as adults, we can make the decision that you should have it at your house, but it's still a family item, right? All the other stuff that nobody wants, there are estate sale companies, there's organizing teams that will come and get it out of there before you even have a chance to be upset about the notion that it's leaving. If you want to sell it, we can sell it. I usually encourage people to donate it because the time and the energy spent donating it for the majority of items is not worth it. Some things, absolutely. Some things, no. Do you think that covers?
I think that's good. I'm going to approach this one, and I'm going to go ahead and own that this last question is mine. Okay, coming at it from a different angle, my mother seems to constantly be purging from my childhood home. Every time she comes to visit, she brings things that she thinks I should have or my kids need. Sometimes it's something sentimental, like my deceased dad's Boy Scout handbook, which was really cool for the kids, or his childhood Bible. Other times it's practical, like copy paper. Okay. Is there a way I can handle this to try to not hurt her feelings, but to stop the dumping? I've already told you, I've got enough stuff. I don't need more copy paper.
I'm good. So we spend a lot of time on tough conversations. And I'm someone who is direct and straightforward. And like if you have spinach in your teeth, I'm going to be like, girl, you got spinach in your teeth. Like you need to get that, right? I'm someone who just comes right out and says it. And that's not everyone's mentality where that's hard to have to do. So it sounds like, and because you owned being the client, I'm going to talk to you. It sounds like you know exactly what needs to happen.
I have said stop. I am also direct. It keeps coming.
It keeps coming. So then my follow-up question would be like, okay, what if she shows up with like an elk carcass? She just killed an elk. It's ridiculous. It's enormous. It's gross. It smells. That's what's on the front porch. You're going to refuse differently. Yes. You're going to be like, no, where is that? That's not coming in here, Mom. We're not doing it, right? So there's a step between, no, thank you, I don't need any more copy paper, and don't bring an elk in here that gets the point across, right? Playing on Mom's side, because for her, she's trying to do that downsize process, right? She is trying to do that downsizing. She wants it out. You are a great place to put it because you take it. Even if you say no, she knows she's not going home with copy paper. It's awesome, right? Instead, so we would invite you to have a conversation with mom. Usually we will facilitate it too, where I'll be like, bring mom over. And I'll be like, what do you want from mom's house? And you don't have to tell us, but think about it. You know what I really do want? I want grandma's rolling pin. That's what I really want. Don't bring me copy paper. I want that item. And having that conversation where you're like, I understand that you're trying to reduce the amount of stuff in your house. You're offloading it to me. But the things that really matter to me are this, this, and this. And I would love those. These other items, I'm happy to help you get rid of them. Why don't you bring them here and then I'll donate them for you? The boys, they want this and they want this. They don't want the other items.
So have like a box, a mom dumping box. So when she comes, it goes there, and then eventually it goes to Goodwill.
I would say that's a good tomorrow solution. The big solution is having that conversation with mom where you're like, listen, I get it. I get it, and it makes it easier for you if you can bring it here and offload it here, but you're causing me to have the same problem now. So you're just handing me the problem, and now I have the problem. So I have a personal story that I'll share. Again, I'm one of 5. I'm the pointer finger of 5. I live in North Carolina. My entire family lives in New York. They all live, I could drive to all of the houses, including my in-laws and all 6 of my husband's siblings, in 9 minutes, from the furthest one to the furthest one. That's too close. That's too close. And I live in North Carolina, so I've been home like once in the last like 6 years. So when we go home, it's like an event. Jess is coming. Awesome. One time we go home, and my sister's like, I got you this gift. She goes outside, and she gets the gift. She comes in, and she presents me with the gift. The gift is enormous. I'm already nervous. The gift is huge. It opens up, and it's one of those like chairs that you would bring to like a soccer game or tailgating that folds up little like a backpack, and then it would pop open into a chair. But it's huge. It's a 3-person chair. So it opens up, and it's enormous. And I was like, it's ridiculous. I'm not going to bring this to my house. But thank you for thinking of me. We immediately got in. I have a picture with me and everyone, all of those siblings in this enormous chair. And I was like, will you use it? And she was like, I love it. I think it's so fun. I would definitely use it. And I'm like, then I'm going to give it back to you. That's a horrible moment for everybody involved. She'll never forget it. It's hard for me to get a gift out of her now because I was a jerk about it, right? But also, the chair's not at my house. That was my goal. Go.
So we have to be sensitive.
Yeah.
I guess. I guess. Wow, that speaks volumes for me. Sorry. Does anybody have a question? I have not gotten any index cards. Can you yell, or do you want me to come down there? Okay.
Do we want to collect the index cards too?
Does anybody have index cards?
We can hold them up and we can have somebody come around and
Libby's
grab them.
going to come grab those. Yeah. So for those so she has a daughter who feels that their home that is bigger is great for storing things. How do you stop that?
She's not wrong. I'm going to start with that. She's not wrong. Because if there's like a place that I can bring it and they're going to keep it until I'm ready to do it. My favorite Southern saying is when somebody's fixing to do something. I love this. It makes me so happy. It means that you haven't started yet. You're thinking about it. You're starting to make the plans to do it, but you haven't actually begun anything yet. You're fixing to do it. I love it. So she has all these things where she's like, well, I might need it, and I might want it, or I'm going to need it in the future, and I'm just going to let it stay at mom's house. So there's a lot going on in there also, right? Because it's the reverse of the mom bringing the daughter the stuff. It's the daughter bringing mom the stuff. So I want my space to be representative of myself. So that's one of those things where I'm just going to have certain girders on. Like, I wouldn't let you bring me an elk. And I'll use a ridiculous example because like we're all on board that like you're not bringing the elk in the house, right? Like nobody's like, actually, I think that no, nobody wants it in the house. But having it be where you're like, I'm on board with storing certain things. If it's an item, I will throw myself under the bus. At my home right now, there's an extra armoire that has nowhere to live, but it's amazing and one of a kind. It has the little skeleton keys that open every door. It's got detail work on it that's insane, but it doesn't fit right now in my house. This is one of those items that becomes like clutter. It's like storage because I don't want to just get rid of it. It's not the IKEA shoe thing that I could buy again if I needed to. So I would say maybe having the conversation with her that I will store certain things. I'm okay with this and this. But this, and this, you're kind of taking advantage, and now my home feels cluttered so that yours doesn't, and having that conversation with her. Again, sometimes that's what the organizer is great for. I'm happy to be the bad guy and have that conversation. Like, you can't bring that in here. It's not happening. Are there specific things that she always offloads?
All the things that you need to send off and have put in a book?
Yeah, we can make it into a book.
I have a box of kids' clothes upstairs. There's one that's keepsake and one that is eventually going to go to a consignment sale.
Okay.
We have the best intentions. I need Jess to come to my house and get them to the consignment sale.
We'll take them for you. Some of it too, so like my younger sister, so the middle finger, right? The middle finger is pregnant right now. She's as pregnant as you can be before you have a baby. She is miserable. She's just grouching around. She's enormous. She's not loving life. But right now is a time when she's in that nesting mentality and she's really sentimental and wants the baby clothes from when we were little, right? So from my own childhood, I have the rattle. I think it had like a red and white stripe going up the handle. There was little blue balls in it. And when you spun it, the blue balls would come out and go up and then fall back down into the middle. Does anyone remember the item that I'm talking about? Yes. You can see it in your head. Like it had a perfect little circle. It was like that hard plastic that like they don't even make anymore, right? This is one of those things where I'm the owner of this rattle from all the children. And I was like, you can have it, but I want it back. So like the baby can play with it, but I'm gonna want it back afterwards. So our recommendation across the board is if it is that item, if you can call to mind the little tiny dress with the blue polka dots that she wore to so-and-so's whatever, that you can remember her in that she loved, we keep it. If it was just a dress that was kind of itchy and someone else bought it for her and she didn't wear it all the time, that item can go to consignment. We want to have it be where the keepsake, the keep it forever, the save it forever items are truly the most important. They're Picasso's best work. They're this little guy's. It's the t-shirt that he wore until it's destroyed. It's destroyed because he wore it until it was like way too little and you had to like peel it off him. You're like, you can't even wear this anymore. That's a cool keepsake because you can picture him as a little guy running around with it. It's not everything that they ever wore.
And I don't know the personal circumstances, but if my mom wanted to come to my house and take the time to go through all the stuff and get it to consignment, I would love that. So, yeah, part of it's time. Okay, so we have 3 related questions that I'm going to give you all at once so you can tackle as you see fit.
Okay, very cool.
Okay, so how do I handle the yard sale that my wife wants to do that never happens? Part 1. Which yields the most money? A personal property auction or a consignment sale? And then when going through items received from a parent's estate, how do you know what has monetary value that should be sold in one of those ways or sent to Goodwill in the trash?
I love it. There's a lot like packed in there. And first of all, the guy that's trying to start a fight with his wife, I'm not about it. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna kind of skirt around that issue. But all the other stuff I'm happy to touch on, right? I have a husband, guys. I know how it works. I'm not doing it. So, the other items, the things that you got from a parent's estate sale, and you're like, I don't know if this is worth anything. I don't want to donate the Hummel with the little red hat. So Hummels are one of those things that, like, just because of my career, I a little bit don't like them. I a little bit don't like them because I've seen a lot of Hummels in my life, guys. So there's a few Hummels, and the one that I talk about is not the one that's worth the money, and that's intentional. But there's a couple that are. I always talk about the guy with the little red hat. So there's a Hummel that has a little red hat. So how do I know if this guy is the one that I should take and get $1 million for, or if it's garbage and Goodwill doesn't even want it, right? So it's somewhere in between there. Our answer for that is there's a professional that does know. We are not that professional. We are awesome at helping you go through and cull items and have really personal conversations about what makes you you. So why do you have 75 blue sweaters? Talk to me. Tell me what's going on, right? You have 11 white shirts that still have the tag on it. Well, I wish I could wear it. I just never pick it, right? We're really good at that. There's a professional that knows which Hummel is worth more money. A Google search will also provide those results for you. So a quick way to do it is I'll be like, let's just quickly, we're going to sign on. We're going to go on eBay right now. We're going to look on eBay and we're going to type in Hummel with the red hat. He pops up, there he is. 78 of them are for sale. Cool. Someone's selling it for $12. Someone else is selling it for $11. Someone else is selling it for $100. Someone else is selling it for $42. You see where I'm going? Do I want to throw my hat into that ring and be like, well, I'm getting $19 for my Hummel, even though it's exactly the same as those? Or are we going to let it go? I would have a professional come. There's estate sale companies that will come and do things in mass that can look at it and say, yes, 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 no, maybe. They will do that. That way you recoup the most amount of money for those items. For, what was it? It was an estate sale versus a personal property auction. So, again, we don't handle that directly. We refer that out to other companies. There's wonderful humans here in Greensboro that is what they do. They can look at it and they can tell you, Hummel with a red hat, $87. They know, right? I want it to be where it fits into your life. So I'm going to ask you questions like, okay, do you have a ton of extra time? You're like, no, I don't. Do you have the expertise and the time to spend this weekend setting up 14 tables and having an auction at your home or doing a garage sale at your home? And you're like, no, like I haven't even taken the bag of recycle to the garage in like a week. Like it's just still sitting right, and we step over it before we go to the garage, right? That's what I'm going to ask. What fits into your life? For me, I absolutely will pay up to $1,000 for my own Saturday back. Some people, maybe that's not your number. Maybe your number is $15. For you to have a Saturday back, or for you to spend one of your favorite nights that you've had in the last year. My entire family came over, we were laughing, we were having a great time. For you to get that day back, what is that worth to you? That's how we think about it, because I don't want to barter my time, my life, doing something that is going to take way more time if I handle it than if I outsource it to someone else. Even if I might make an extra $1,000, it's not worth it to me. So that's how I would approach it with a client.
Opportunity cost.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Opportunity cost, everyone, is the technical term for that.
Okay. When you move, what do you do with your traditional furniture, china, crystal, and silver if your children do not want it?
This is a generational thing, right? So my parents and my grandparents grew up and lived in a very different time than I did, right? So my grandfather, I remember as a little child having to like re-hammer a nail straight that I had pulled out of something that was rusty and garbage to be able to reuse it again. And that is a notion that if I asked a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old right now to re-hammer a rusty nail so it could be reused, they wouldn't even know there's no value there, right? So how do we have the mentality of someone who would fix the broken nail, and now they're trying to pass their china and their silver and the items that they were gifted at their wedding on to the next generation, right? And the next generation doesn't want it. It can't go in the dishwasher. Not in my house. Absolutely not. Top rack only. Get out of here. Tervis, I'm putting you in there. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to risk it. I'm willing to risk it for the Yeti. I'm absolutely putting the Yeti in there, right? So it's just a different mentality. So there are places like replacements that will take some of the china. That can be fielded with a phone call where you can call them and say, I have 8 dishes of the desert rose. Are you interested? And they'll say yes or no. A lot of times it does end up at estate sale places or at a consignment store. Some of it, again, is valuable, some of it is not. My recommendation, too, is to use it in a different way. So if I spend a lot of time at like antique stores and stuff like that. I love old, really cool furniture that's like way too heavy for what it is. I love it. The armoire that we talked about before, this is how we ended up with it, right? So when you see the full set of china at the consignment store, for me it's like heartbreaking. I'll cry. My husband makes fun of me. He's like, really, you're emotional over china? It makes me so sad because I know yesteryear, you bought me one place setting, and you bought me one place setting, and you bought me one place setting for my wedding, right? And I got them all, and then I kept them. And then I would take them out for special occasions, but only kind of, like I was watching you as you were drinking your cup of coffee, like making sure I got it back before you did anything with it. It never got really used and enjoyed. So instead, I would say that if you do have that set of china that your granddaughter or your daughter doesn't want, it might simply be a conversation, right? We're always going to go back to that. How are we doing it? Where I'm going to say, this is the china from my wedding. I would love for the 4-year-old to use it to have a tea party. And everyone here was like, I felt it, right? Everyone was like, oh my goodness, what? But at the same time, why not? Why not let it be used? We have one of those silver bowls. So it's from like the set of silver. They come in every size. They're tiny, bigger, bigger, bigger. It goes like this and has a little foot on it, right? Mine has seashells in it at the beach house. That's not what it's for. It was supposed to be like fancy mashed potatoes or something, right? We use it and I love it. I get to see it all the time. So I typically make recommendations to be able to use and enjoy the item, because if we're just keeping it for the sake of keeping it, we're going to keep it, we're going to move it, we're going to eventually sell it, someone else is going to benefit from the sale of that item, and I never got to enjoy the actual item.
We have time for one more.
Okay.
How do you accommodate daughter or son and family that you don't have room for after you downsize? You realize you don't want 3 bedrooms for family or company that don't come often, or you want to use that spare room for an office or a craft room, which provides more use.
I love it. I love it because I can tell that people are actually like on board with what we're talking about tonight, right? So nobody has said, how much does this cost and how long does this take? Which is typically what people are asking me. It's a real question. It's trying to get to like the meat of what we're talking about. And that makes me so happy. So I'm going to get there, but I'm going to come around from like the back door because this is the last one. So who in their house has a junk drawer? Okay. Who has 2 junk drawers? Aha. Who's got a drawer that's supposed to be something else, but a different family member thinks it's a junk drawer? Oh, we all do. Who's got a closet? Uh-huh. Who's got the room that you like throw stuff in and you slam the door, right? So I talk about this room with every single client. We have a name for this room. We call this room the room of requirement. Any Harry Potter fans? We also will call it Narnia, because sometimes people know Narnia better, right? Narnia is the room where I open the door and I throw it in and I close it, and when guests come over, I lock it from the inside because I don't want them to accidentally walk in there when they're on the way to the bathroom, right? Every house has this. So if you've ever been to a friend's house and there's a door closed, next time you're going to be like, oh, Narnia, it's right in there. It's so cool. Almost every house has this, right? So in Narnia is all of the delayed decisions that I haven't made. It's wrapping paper. It's something that needs to be returned, but I haven't done it yet. It's the box of t-shirts that I'm going to turn into a quilt. It's the stuff that my daughter just brought here, and I don't know where to put this. Just shove it in there and close the door, right? It's all of that stuff. Underneath that stuff is a queen-size bed. The queen-size bed is made. There's pillows, the blanket, the duvet matches. There's one of those little round pillows that nobody knows what it's for, but it just goes in the front. Like when you make the bed, it goes in the front, right? So that's the guest room that this person is asking me about. That's that space. So what do I do when people want to come and I no longer have this space? Or I've turned it into the office. I've made it a craft room. I've made it somewhere I can go and sit down and paint and leave it messy and leave and come back to it later and paint again. Oh my goodness. I love when it's a functional space, because there's certain rooms in my house that I never let turn into Narnia. The bathroom doesn't become Narnia. You don't put the vacuum in the shower. It would make a lot of sense. Like, that's pretty perfect, actually, right? We don't do it because it holds that function and we protect it. So I would rather you had a space that you were protecting. It was the craft room. It was your office. It was something that you were just going to enjoy. Now we have the problem because the daughter-in-law is coming from out of town. It's me. I'm this daughter. Can I stay with you? Because I'm coming. And I'm bringing the husband. We got dogs and stuff like that. Can I stay with you guys? The solutions are, and my favorite one is the person I would typically stay with offers to put me up at the proximity. I might not even say yes. I might not even let them pay for it, but they offer that. I want to make sure that we have breakfast together every day, but it just makes it easier if I'm not worried about having to field you here. They get it. They get it. Has anyone ever dreaded the fact that someone was coming to your house? We all have. You've also been the person that caused that dread. So they know. So just having that conversation like, hey, like we turned the guest room into an office and we've been using that for the craft room. It no longer works as Narnia. When you guys come to visit, we would love to have you stay. There's the proximity, there's the other one, there's Airbnbs we can have you stay at. Another option that is going to be, because they too are like, oh, I don't have to share a bathroom with my father. Amazing. They're going to love the notion of it, right? If you were the guest, and that's what I'll usually do, I'll put the shoe on the other foot. If you were the guest, what could I say to make you still feel like you were welcome in my home, but I don't want you to sleep there? I think that kind of covers it. Thank you very much for your attention, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Jess.
for sure.
Can you hear me? Okay. I would not be doing my job if I did not tell you a couple of the things that Stearns does to try to help the efforts of decluttering. Many of you may know that we have the online vault. So your documents, your estate documents, tax information, different things that you want to know where it is, and we may need to know where it is, can be kept securely. It's a great tool to use for estate planning so that when you have passed along, whoever's taking care of your estate just has to get in touch with us, and there's everything you need in a nice wrapped up package. And as somebody that has settled an estate that was chaos, that would be a fabulous thing. So that's something you can talk to Stearns about. We also, if you are familiar with our financial independence roadmap, that right there makes you get organized. If you've done one, you know that we ask for lots of documents, all of the documents that could be put in the vault. So once you get it all together one time, you have everything put together in a nice, neat package, and as you move along into the fourth quarter and make decisions about whether you're going to go to a CCRC, whether you've made a bank on that estate sale that you have gone on and done, we can help you with that. We have information at the table. We have a financial fitness questionnaire that's something that's new that can go through and maybe on an annual basis look at it, ask questions. It's a thought provoker, something you can talk to your advisor about. I just want to say thank you. I hope that you got something out of it. Jess, thank you so much. Very entertaining. I like to look at it from both angles. So I'm with the daughter that's bringing the stuff. I don't want to go to my mother's house because I know she wants me to go through her house and get stuff out too. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Thank you so much for coming. We'll be around. We have a cookbook. I completely forgot. We have some cookbooks that is another example of something Stearns has done that doesn't quite make sense financially. But we have a few of those at the table. We've got some books, some of the fourth quarter Fumbles Champions workbooks that I mentioned earlier. Free to take. Libby has. Oh, that's why she was showing me the cookbook. We have an evaluation on your table that you can talk about how much I rambled on and how great Jess was. If you can fill that out, we will be sending out one of those cookbooks. So we would love your feedback. We are so happy to have you back in person and can't wait for our next event. Thank you so much.